This just opened the door for a game-changing move for the Montreal Canadiens. As on 32 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman and Kyle Bukauskas were speaking about the upcoming unrestricted free agency class of defensemen as we are on the heels of the Mike Matheson signing, and what they had to say about this upcoming UFA class of defensemen and Montreal's position within it puts us in a prime position to make a massive move to improve this team for years to come. We have to dive into all of that. Plus, we have some interesting insights from Arber at The Athletic, Nick Suzuki and Bolduc on the top two lines, and some fans are advocating for one or the other, and we also have some huge prospect updates, including Alexander Zhirovsky getting a goal here off his skate, a beautiful assist, and L.J. Mooney being selected to the United States World Junior preliminary roster. So much going on here, and we're here to talk about it all. Welcome into the Monday Live. We got so many people in chat. We got Rays, we got Frank, we got Canadian Dude and Oz. Good morning. We got Luke, we got Mark. Hello, all you Habs fans. Keep the faith. Tyson, look at all the channel members. We're here fostering that community. Jesse, this is when things are picking up this year. It's a huge week for the Habs. 4 games, really? I mean, technically 3 because one's on Sunday, but feels like 4. There's so many trade talks around the NHL. We got Mike Matheson's extension. How are we feeling going into this week, the first week of December, December 1st? I think this could be a huge month for the Canadiens.
We're feeling good. We know that the Habs have had a couple injuries after a very strong start. We're coming off a Western road trip where we're able to get 4 out of 6 points. We know the points is what matters at the end of the day here. And the boys are looking again. They know what they need to do and just looking to hold it down in the meantime till we get some of those reinforcements, Josh. Whether we don't Newhook, it's maybe or Dach, which is maybe the closest being back there, maybe 2 to 4 weeks. But is Ken going to wait that long? Is he going to do something ahead of time here? Obviously, there's some stats which are saying that maybe he very much could be motivated to make a move and kind of reunite that top line. Of course, we're going to get into much more of that in just a second, but so happy to be with you here live today. Bring your questions, your comments, your statements even. We love the hot takes here on Habs Digest. We love to see the active chat. Bring it here today. We love being live with all of you guys. You know we're going to bring it on our end.
Let's do it. All right, so first of all, I want you guys in chat, how are you feeling about this upcoming week, right? We have 2 sets of back-to-backs. You think we'll do good this week or not? If you think we're going to have a good week, leave a yes in the chat, or a Y. Leave a Y in the chat for yes, we're going to have a good week. Leave an N for no, it's not going to be a good week. I want to see what you guys are feeling, because this is a big one as we welcome Metaltron. We welcome our core. Metaltron, new month and fresh slate. Let's get rid of those bloody mustaches. Hey, we'll see if Marty shaves it. It was a bit of a bad luck charm, but we want to start nice and easy into this video, and I'm so excited to talk about this guy. Little John, L.J. Mooney, getting a ton of attention lately, and for good reason. He scored an incredible goal here. Don't have the video of it, but it's a screenshot, good enough. On Quentin Miller, another Habs prospect who's been playing some stellar goaltending for Denver University, but LJ Mooney getting a goal in that, and Jesse, he's had a great season, so much so that the United States World Junior preliminary roster has him as a selection. Now, there are 28 people on this roster, and 25 are expected to be selected for the World Junior team. But the fact that Mooney is there, first off, I'll say it's not surprising. Second off, it's very well deserved. For a guy as small as he is, again, 5'8", 165, not sure how accurate that totally is on the weight because it can fluctuate, but 13 points in 17 games, off to a torrid start. I love what I've seen from him, Jesse, and I'm glad that, all the hype that we put into him this offseason and preseason is really coming true at the University of Minnesota.
It's because we knew it. He's just got like this larger than life personality. When you got that skill, but also the hustle to go with it, we believe in players like that, Josh. Why? We got proof right in front of us in guys like Lane Hutson. You put that together in that competitive spirit, which was kind of ingrained into him from such a young age, Josh. Like many Canadians, grew up playing in the rink in his backyard. Actually, neighbors, not just cousins to Logan Cooley. They were next door neighbors, and they would play with them and their brothers literally every single day. So Lil John Mooney, again, has just been working for this moment to get these type of opportunities of making the preliminary roster for the Team USA here, which is looking like a strong team right now. So it's not a given he's going to make it, but he's looking to heat up his game to really get there. We know how competitive he is. He's definitely going to want to be on there as well. Other notable names we'd have to say is Cole Hutson, by affiliation, younger brother of Lane Hutson here, doing some great stuff right now. But again, just as fearless later, Josh, like nature, I'm just so happy seeing him come into his own. I'd like nothing more for him to make this team heat up his play, get a big bowl of popcorn, and watch this guy over the holidays because you know if he's making this team, it's just going to be basically much walk World Jays hockey.
I mean, we saw those clips of him like leveling people like in international tournaments before.
He'll do that.
This 5'8", he's gonna body people, right? It was like Anton Frundell or someone like that, I think. Knocking these guys down. It was incredible watching him. Leave a like right now if you want LJ Mooney to make Team USA. Every like makes it more likely that he'll do good, but we got to jump to the chat already. We got Daniel SK110. Yeah, I know. Jordan Osborne says Metaltron. YouTube switched it to people's handles instead of their names. I don't know. There's probably some reason for that, but shout out to you, Jordan. Glad to see you here. But Daniel, welcome to the Snipe Selly tier. Channel member again, Daniel, already sending those Slavzilla emojis. We absolutely love it. Slavzilla. Coined here at Habs Digest, as you all well know. But we also got a wonderful chat here from Luke. Luke, the $20 donation. Luke, absolutely, you didn't need to do that, but thank you so much for your support, Luke. Once and always been around for so long. Longtime channel member. Our fantasy league is pretty intense so far. I would like to see everyone keep up with their own teams. Yeah, Jesse, we got smoked this week by Simon, and credit to Simon with a great week. But hey, it's tight at the top. The top, like, half of this league, very close, and I expect it to be close down to the wire. And the interesting thing this year, Jesse, with the condensed schedules, players getting injured more often, some players going on hot streaks, cold streaks. It's really interesting this season, not just for the Habs, but for teams around the league, trying to keep up with them and watching who's doing some great things, like some of our young guys in the league, like Carlson and Celebrini and Bedard, and even some unheralded guys, right?
Speaks to just what the amazing fans like we have, like Simon Desjardins, which really knows his hockey, by the way. He's in the Rocket Richard tier, so we're able to kind of chat with him a little bit more. Obviously, we know we're looking to bounce back, though. We got that title to defend this year, Josh.
That's right.
We're looking to hold that down. Basically, the challenge has been level, but we're up to it here at Habs Digest.
Oh, absolutely. We're so excited for it. So thank you for that very much, Luke. And Luke Stompa-Tom's always been a very tough team to go up against in fantasy. I'll tell you that. And we got another super chat, 50 Swedish kroner coming in from Daniel SK again. Daniel, been around so much in the live streams lately. Thank you so much. Been loving second line Slav. Him taking on more responsibility, showing his real talent, what he can do, which was perhaps numbed down on the first line. And that's actually, you know what? Let's get into that now. We do have some Zharovsky stuff, but there's a lot of talk about Slav. We just mentioned him. Welcome in Ethan as well, one of our wonderful mods and longtime member of the channel and chat. Let's get into that. Let's get into some Slav stuff, because Arpen Basu recently wrote in The Athletic. This is linked down below, as always, when we're crediting articles. There were some quotes from Suzuki and Bolduc about the first line. Suzuki saying Bolduc's pretty deadly with his shot. Saw that tonight. He plays a bit less down low than Slav does. Slav does. Anyone that we play with, we try to do the same stuff. He's learning and we're learning, so it's coming along nicely. And then Bolduc himself said, you always want to produce more. You always want to bring more to the team, but I'm happy with the direction my game's going. I still have a lot of things I want to bring. I want to help the team more than I am right now. I know I can do it, but I think I'm going in the right direction. And again, he followed that up with 5 points in 2 games, which is pretty impressive. He did exactly what he set out to do. But Jesse, there's been a lot of questions there about that second line, first line. I love that Slav's been able to drive the second line, but Bolduc on that first line, like, you look at the advanced stats like Arpen presented in the article. Go check out the article itself if you want those exact numbers. We're not going to steal all his thunder, of course, but right now, the advanced metrics are not nearly as good for both of those lines as it was with Slav on the first line. How are you feeling about this experiment? I want everyone in chat. Do you want Slav back on the first line soon? Let us know, but I think it's done wonders for his confidence, kind of centering this young, or not centering, being the driving force, I should say, of this young trio on the second line.
There's solid arguments to be made on either side of this debate, Josh, which makes it such an interesting topic to discuss right now. The real question, Josh, right now, though, I feel is what it comes down to is how much potential can you extract from Juraj Slafkovsky being the best version of himself like he's doing on that second line? If he's doing that every single game that he goes out there and just starts owning the puck, you're increasing the chances that he's just going to continue to do that in further games. You're creating this baseline for him to essentially create and go over from there. So it's an interesting situation right now where the advanced stats show that they're not playing their best by having them separated. That's obviously a pretty good indicator, but that's also countered by the fact that Bolduc over this last weekend, like, he was producing, right? Like, he had 2 goals and then 3 assists against Utah and Vegas here. So there's also that to consider, that it's heating up. And I think you want to see those positive signs. But we need to remember, like, even though the production save for Bolduc and Slav, sometimes you want to think like, oh, they're the same type of player and they play the exact type of game. And in fact, They don't quite. Like Bolduc's more of a kind of just straight shooter, where Slaf, like where he really shines again, we're starting to see this now is for sure he's taking that leadership role on the second line, but it's kind of highlighting his absence right now of just like how good those puck retrievals he is and how big he is to actually be able to get those pucks as Caufield cycling that puck down low. And how that just helps this whole dynamic of just basically anytime they need to continue a play, they know they can put it down low and Slaf is just going to come out the other side. And that kind of that safety net that provides for Suzuki and Caufield is obviously very, very huge. So for me, I need just a little bit more of a sample size. Right now, what we're seeing Slaf doing, I love it. But at the same time, I love to see them on that top line altogether. What's the real answer to this, Josh? Is that we need to add another player to our top six. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing for the Corsi, the goals expected for, is showing right now that we need just another player. We need to spread out the talent, but it's not quite doing it right now because there's a little bit of a talent deficiency with Newhook, with Dach out. But we need to consider, Josh, even though we have injuries, we bring in somebody in this top six, we become very deep very quickly with Newhook, with a Dach kind of going onto your third line. So it becomes, very exciting very quickly for the Montreal Canadiens here.
100%. It's, I'm curious to see how it's going to work this year as players are going to come back, like important players who are expected to play a lot of minutes are going to come back sort of one at a time. It's not like we're going to even get them back in groups. It's like in stages of like Dach and then Guhle and then Line and then Newhook. And it's like, how's that going to affect the lineup? How's that going to affect the trade landscape? Who we call up and send down? There's been rumors like people want Sammy Blais to come up. It looks like Jared Davidson's the 13th forward as Florian's taking his spot right now in the lines, at least at practice. So there's so many interesting dynamics here, but you're right, straight up in that top six, like, there needs to be someone added. And look, whether Kirby, Dach, and I'm curious where Kirby goes in all of this stuff. I'm thinking even third line maybe. And look, I don't think that's a bad thing. I know it's a contract year for him, but you don't break up a good thing here. Kaiden is playing at a very solid level, even if, again, the advanced stats don't paint a great picture. Like, obviously you want everything to work out. You want the advanced stats to be great. It's not always the case, but I want to read some of your guys' chats because you guys have been responding like crazy and keep sending. I want to get to as many as we can. Of course, channel members and super chats will get priority for what we answer. Going to try to get to a few of those, but also want to shout out Luke for re-upping the membership for 14 months, a year and 2 months. Luke, told you all. Luke's been around a while. He's been very good at fantasy hockey. Couldn't come out last year, but making a fight for it this year. But I see a lot of people here. Slaf on the first line kept defenders busy. He wasn't free to do things. On the second line, he's more open. I think that plays to what you said, Jesse, is like sort of a safety net, but also one of those guys that can just help sustain that offensive pressure without having to do it himself. His role is very different. I agree. Mr. Q says no, Slaf stays on the second. RPMs want Bolduc to be given more time on the first since Slaf is working well with Demidov. And we got leave the top, what was that? Sorry, it just skipped all the way down. Leave the top two lines how they are, the most balanced scoring we've had in decades. But then Daniel, Slaf has to be on the first line. The stats show it's one of the best lines. Mark saying, I think we keep lines 1 and 2 as they are for now. If we get a true 2C, then we can reunite Slaf with Suzuki and Cole. And Jesse, I think the only answer to this now is to have a poll. We gotta have a poll on this because, again, it's very interesting, and maybe you can speak a bit too, because it's something that I really see every game. That puck carrying ability for Slaf, and you teased this recently too. Like, you think that could be something that he could bring back to the first line if maybe when Kirby comes back, we decide, hey, he does bring some size and some similar elements as Slaf's game. You give Kirby that kind of puck carrying role on that second line with Demidov. You put Slaf back on the first, and he can be a puck carrier. I don't know. I think there's some interesting conversations to be had on that front.
That's the ideal situation, is you're getting some talent into our top six. Kent Hughes is making a swing, and then you're putting Slaf back on that first line. I think that's been the whole reason, and the longer play with all this. That being said, if you are going to do something this big, and it's crazy we're even talking about this according into the season that this happened, is that you do need to give it a little bit of run. Like, you don't do something so quick like this and then kind of shift it back. You're just putting your players a little bit too much in a blender there. So the ideal is that you have Slaf develop. You really, again, increase his confidence and really realize like what he can do out there on the ice. And then the whole thing is now, how do we translate that back on the first line? Because for me, there's like no reason why he can't be carrying the puck on that first line as well. I think in a lot of ways that benefits it. Like Nick Suzuki isn't even a guy that needs like the puck on his stick all the time. He's more of that playmaker. So I think that there's definitely a world for that, even with Cole Caufield as well. We've often said this for like a long period of time with Juraj Slafkovsky. It's like we wanted him to shoot more. We wanted to take him like more ownership over the game. And it seems like only once he's getting on the second line, maybe being a little bit, humble by nature, which again, it's hard to fault, really here. He's now saw what he's capable of though. And I think it's about bringing that as well here. And we know Demidov is also kind of a first line type of talent as well. Just very exciting though, and seeing the type of opportunities that we now have. We're like, okay, Juraj Slafkovsky is not a one-trick pony. It's like, if we're adding players, there could be a world here where maybe Demidov, Slafkovsky play together with the new addition as well. It just opens so many opportunities. That being said, like, you have to feel like Slav is just such a perfect fit on that line, but he's just being such a team player in the meantime, just filling in where this team really needs him the most.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see, like, there's something like, he's just gaining some confidence with this, like he looks more confident with those quick touches, and that alone is such a big thing for his game. It's something that we knew, like, when Slav is confident, we saw at those Olympics prior to being drafted, like, he is a beast, and these last few games he's played like it. And look, we don't know now, like, is this a different Slav with a different level of confidence? Will this look different on the first line? So there's so many different factors with this, but yes, he's worked well with Demidov, and I think you can't really change it right now because of how well it's working. And 90% of people who voted said Slav should not go back on the first line, at least not yet. And honestly, can't blame you guys. I think it's a really interesting discussion. We'd love to keep seeing you guys talk about that, but we got to shout out Luke, Jesse, as we have now added a new member to the Rocket Richard tier.
Oh,
baby.
My goodness.
Luke, welcome into the Rocket Richard tier. Everyone leave some love for Luke. I want to see some W Lukes in the chat. Luke has been around. You saw a 14-month channel member. Leave some W's in the chat for Luke. Luke, reach out on Twitter, Habs Digest, or X, whatever. Instagram, Habs Digest. Find me on Facebook and message me, whatever you want to do. We're going to add you to our Rocket Richard group chat. Had some great chats earlier about how Doug was saying in NHL 26, Mike Matheson was asking for 15 mil a year. So look, we got a pretty good discount. We got a lot of good chats. We're going to have Zoom calls with you, Luke. So shout out to you.
Yes.
Send us a message and we'll get you in there. Unbelievable, Jesse. I love again, all the fans talking about this. It's just an absolutely incredible vibe here today. Again, I think, the Habs still being close to the top of the standings helps it. But I mean, there's just so much to talk about every day. And it's wonderful to have all these people to chat about it with.
Absolutely. And welcome to the Rocket Richard tier level, Luke. So happy to have you. Can't wait to meet you so soon. And again, like, just the fact, like, Josh, if we would have said coming into this season, doing a live in the before that first game, that a quarter into the season, that Habs Digest Nation, that they'd respond at a 90% that they'd rather see Slav on that second line with Demidov, like, we would not have seen that coming. But again, it speaks to Slav. It speaks to Demidov as well. I think, there's we've seen some of that solid chemistry from them. I definitely want to see more of that going forward here. But again, just showing that Juraj Slafkovsky, he's capable of so much. He's a young guy. The best is yet to be seen. And we know second half Slav, it's a real thing.
Yep.
I feel like he's done a little bit of a better job improving it so far. But what do we know about this guy? He's just going to keep getting better as the year goes on. But really, again, just doing what the team needs right now. And this wasn't an easy ask from him, but he's really fitting in just so admirably right now. So we just want to see that continue.
100%. And if you want to see Juraj Slafkovsky keep dominating with Demidov, this could be a duo for years to come. Like, them getting some chemistry with each other is going to be incredible. We thought first it was Kaiden and Demidov, and look, they're still working great together, but you replace Kaiden with Xhekaj, or maybe another target that we could get into, right? And you keep Slav there, this could be something great. If you want Slav to keep doing this, leave a like on the stream, guys. We're only at 50 likes. You know how much we love to hit 100, and you guys come through literally every single stream, but we got to keep this up. We're only at 50. We got almost 250 you in here. Let's move on from Slav, and we got lots of wonderful chats celebrating Luke. Some big W's in the chat for Luke. Thank you so much to everyone. Want to move on to Alexander Zhuravsky to get back to a different Russian guy, Ivan Demidov, and spoke well of. Are you awake? Oh, baby, Kent Hughes. That sent shivers down our spine with that text, that voice message. It's my alarm every morning. No, it's not. I wish it was. That'd be kind of funny. Alexander Zhuravsky, Jesse. 20 points in 23 games. Coming off 2 more points. Him deflecting it off his skate in front here. Nice little goal and a beautiful pass between the defender's legs. 2 points in this recent game for Ufa, and he's up to 20 points in 23 games. Now, he's fallen off that point per game pace, which we never really thought was sustainable, but we thought, is there really a chance that'd be incredible? And then projected now for 52 points in 60 games. He's tied for the team lead with Jack Rodewald right now in 8 fewer games. 20 points as an 18-year-old. Now, the big thing with him, it's a lot of power play production, Jesse, but even at 5v5, you can see that there's the makings of something there. And I think regardless, you can look past some of those some of those caveats to his game because of his age, because of he's still not that heavy, he's still very skinny, and you can look at a guy that genuinely could easily project to a middle six, if not top six talent in the NHL.
I think you have to, because even if we're looking at Demidov's numbers through 22 games, he's now played 23 games, but through the 22 game mark, he actually has more goals than Demidov does. 8 goals to Demidov's 7 at that point, with only 1 less point. He's now at 20 points in 23 games, and like going through the legs here, that's a little bit like of an underrated play. Like, it's basically Zurofsky. One thing you can bet from him every single game in the KHL, he's either going to like set up some type of highlight reel goal, score a highlight reel goal, or come darn close. Like, that's just it. Like, every time he's basically just he's going to go for it one way or another, sink or swim. And I just love that kind of mentality from Zurofsky. And like, while we see a lot of it on the power play, again, for me, it's just a good look, a big guy like that, that's not afraid to play at the front of the net, which we've seen just a lot from him so far this season. So the production is just, again, like, I sometimes have a hard time feeling like he's on that level with Demidov, even though we see him doing amazing stuff. But at a certain point, like, the numbers just need to speak for themselves in terms of what he's doing. Like, it's truly impressive. Like, we need to remember, like, Demidov is coming into the NHL and again, like, is in the running for the Calder being one of the best players. We got a guy objectively in Alexander Zurofsky, even if we take away our Montreal Canadiens hat, putting up very similar production and in some ways better through the same amount of time. It's absolutely unreal. And there was a reason why they were excited about him. It just seems kind of like that, almost like not at the level of a Lane Hutson drafts, Josh, but like, as this continues, it's just getting closer and closer into that type of territory.
Yeah, and it's just, again, one of these things that, like, having your prospects play at this level. We talked about Xhekaj yesterday and Reinbacher. We're talking about Zurofsky and Mooney today. Having guys do this, even if, like, again, the odds are most of these guys won't be huge, impact players in the NHL. It's just the way prospects work. But a lot of our guys recently have been. Anyway, even when you say that, right? Like, guys like Engstrom may crack in the NHL roster. Yep. Florian Xhekaj playing NHL games. Jared Davidson. I know that's like injuries too, but like, I can't help but feel good about this new scouting team and our new development program, which again, Zurofsky hasn't really been a part of because he's still in the KHL for another year and a half. But it's incredible to look at the production and not see something big, right? We got a chat here. We got Jalugo saying, I'm not sold on Zurofsky. He's putting up points and showing his playmaking, but he has so much, he plays so much time. He won't get that time in the NHL. I say, if you're putting up points as an 18-year-old, that's okay. And on the other side, we have K Moon saying, power play production, you say, I'll take it. I will too. But also, huge shout out again to Luke in the chat. Luke coming in, gifting 5 channel memberships. And if I read your name, you have been gifted a channel membership by Luke. You can send these emojis that I'm about to send in the chat. You got access to all of our wonderful emojis, and the more members we have, the more emojis we have. And a Jakub Dobesh one is coming soon once we get there. But Mr. Q, who I saw already said thank you, has gotten it. J Levine 08, Nick, I'm just going to say that, Savax and Okodro, you are all now channel members courtesy of Luke. So thank you again, Luke, for being such a generous participant in today's stream. And again, we love these channel members because we read your chats first here in the live stream when we're reading them after videos. So again, it's this community, and we got to ask for your guys' input in a lot of stuff, Jesse. It's a big thing today. And I think there's just, again, so much hype around the Habs, Zurofsky, the prospects, and what we're going to get into now in the trade front. There's a lot to talk about. And hey, we're going to have to be talking to the fans for a lot of input on this stuff.
I mean, that's what Mondays are all about, right? We're able to do the video and we're able to get that interaction, be able to chat and really see where these Montreal Canadiens teams at right now. What's that next move for them? How are we feeling? How do we get there? So again, thank you, Luke. We're loving the community vibes. That's what we're all about here at Habs Digest. So absolutely love what you're bringing to the community here today.
Unreal stuff. And I wanted to shout out, I think it's Giaboot, who says, just keep it up, big fan. Well, thank you so much. And again, we're trying to read as many as we can. We got so many people saying, Luke is a good guy, says Mark Boutillier. Incredible stuff. So yeah, really, really good stuff here today. Talk about Zurofsky. But the big thing here that we wanted to get into, it's some Elliot Friedman stuff. Now, like, just a caveat, this is not directly saying Montreal is making a certain trade, but the way it was lined up, and you can just look at the NHL landscape, and the fact that they're talking about this, it gets me excited. So they were discussing the Mike Matheson extension. Kalpakoskis, Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts. You guys all know it. You guys love it. Incredible source of NHL information. And they were saying after the Matheson extension, it's great for Montreal. Again, we got him at a big discount compared to what he would have got on the open market. But now, Jesse, when you look at the UFA class of defensemen for 2026, it is barren. And looking at what Kyle Bukauskas had to say, for those looking at UFA potentially to add on their blue line come next summer, fewer and fewer options are available. At least those that are a little bit younger. It's all older defensemen in their early mid-30s that you don't want to ink to like long-term deals. And so, excuse me, again, Elliot Friedman goes on to say that if you're somebody with a defenseman to trade this offseason, now he says offseason, but any team looking for a defenseman to get on their books earlier, that's always a good thing. I think you're going to be in great shape. There's not a lot out there. And they said this on the heels of saying how good Montreal's blue line, how stacked it looks. And Jesse, it is stacked. Again, Matheson, Dobson, Hutson, Guhle, all locked up long-term. Guhle injured right now. Xhekaj and Struble, both NHL caliber guys. Struble injured right now. Carrier had his tough stretch of games. Definitely a very good third-pairing defenseman. Engstrom getting some runtime. But we're also looking at guys like David Reinbacher, who's lighting up the AHL. We have such a good future on defense, even after trading one of our top blue line prospects in Logan Mailloux. To look at this and to see how barren this upcoming free agency class is, teams are going to be clamoring for a defenseman, let alone a young defenseman under contract. I'm just saying, I'm not saying Montreal's going to trade like a Guhle or a Reinbacher, but I am saying, Jesse, we're looking at the prices that people are going for right now. Montreal could command an otherworldly haul for some of our young guys here on the back end, and I think it puts us in a prime position to leverage like a really groundbreaking move for that forward that we desperately need.
And it really needs to be done because, again, we're looking at really, for the Montreal Canadiens, 9 NHL caliber defensemen. When we look at guys that are injured right now, like Guhle, Reinbacher, Engstrom coming up, Struble, etc., all these kind of guys here, again, very solid core. We basically got 2 NHL decors. It's what it's looking like here. So again, you have to feel like that big trade is coming up here. And again, what does that mean for the Montreal Canadiens in return? Again, like, I know that we've been talking about the 2C a lot, but as we're getting closer to Xhekaj becoming a reality of coming to the Montreal Canadiens, I know that we don't want to put too much pressure, but I think we need to start opening up to the thought that Kent Hughes might be a winger that he's going for in the top 6. With Xhekaj being kind of close, showing what Kapainen's capable of, Newhook taking a step in his production, they say, okay, maybe by committee we can kind of hold down that 2C, and we're going to have like 2 like really all-star wingers here. I'm starting to think like outside the box, because as much as I'd love a Ryan O'Reilly and how that's kind of a perfect fit, I just feel culturally a better fit than Steven Stamkos, even though there has been a lot of smoke, which again, is interesting. When you keep hearing about stuff, there's generally something behind that there. I'm thinking of these wild cards, Josh. Like, I want to hear in the chat, like, who are the wild cards right now that Kent could be looking for as a potential winger? And I don't want to completely rule out a center, Josh. It says the vibes right now, it seems like they've kind of mentioned that they're open to it. I don't think that they're mentioning that unless that's on the table. I think guys like Brock Besser, we know what's going on with the Canucks right now. In terms of like the culture, just seems like a fit. A guy like Filip Forsberg, the production's there. But again, like the fit is like the most important thing that we need to evaluate when we're looking at who's going to come in to this team here. Is really, the talent needs to be there. But they've really built this locker room so carefully that you have to feel like it needs to be an A+ type of character person coming to the Montreal Canadiens as well.
100%. You know what's funny? My brain was like, can you imagine Tom Wilson in the Habs jersey? Like, no, I was like, that's never going to happen, first of all. But it was just like him and Josh Anderson. That would just be hilarious. But no, that's actually really interesting. Leave some thoughts in the chat. Like, who's a guy that you would want to see come to the Montreal Canadiens? I saw one person say, if it's true, that if Doug Armstrong wants to trade Robert Thomas, this chat here from Seb, and I think the Habs should try to get him. And again, there's been some weird rumors out of St. Louis that, like, it started off as like, well, there's a few untouchables, and now it's like, no, not as many untouchables as before, and now it's like, oh, they're kind of open, like the team is really struggling. So if St. Louis is open for business, they have a few guys. We talked about Kyrou in the past. I'm not sold on that. It's a good contract for his production, but he even had a healthy scratch this season. We'll have to wait and see, but like Robert Thomas is a good idea, right? And there's some other guys there, like even guys like Buchnevich, who's not playing well, like, he could go for some value. Dylan Holloway's good, but I think he's kind of untouchable because he's young. I see RPM saying tired of the Kyrou rumors. Yeah, like, I don't know about that either. But yeah, there's some very interesting names, but we got Jalugo saying, I'd rather have Stamkos for maybe 1 year. Is he on the last year of his contract? No, he is not. And that's one of the big problems with Stamkos. He has 2 more years left after this one at an $8 million cap hit. But Luke, the man of the hour coming in saying Tage Thompson. And if you want Tage Thompson, guys, we're 20 likes away from 100. If you want Tage Thompson and you like this stream, Tage Thompson will see it and he will come to the Montreal Canadiens. And I think he's one of these guys, Jesse, that we always talk about because he is just that dream candidate, right? And it was Mason McTavish for a while, but Tage Thompson now can play center. He could play some wing. He's just one of those guys like Buffalo being dead last in the Atlantic. It's like, I don't know. I feel really bad for their fans. I think something needs to be done there. Their top guys are just not doing what they need to do. And you know, I don't love just throwing out names out there just for the sake of it. But the fact of the matter is, teams are going to look to be selling. My only issue with that is like, if we're talking about what Friedman had to say, right? If you're a team with a defenseman, you have a lot of value. Buffalo has some great defensemen on their team. Some very, very good defensemen. They fit this bill as well. They could go trade for some good talent. So, you know, if they're in that position, Samuelson's been really good for them, right? Dahlin, of course, they got Owen Power. If ever they decide to move off of one of those guys, they could get a haul bigger than maybe we could for some guys. So they're almost in competition with us as much as I'd love Tage Thompson. But it is going to be interesting, Jesse, because I think, again, we're not the only team that's going to be out looking to buy. But I can see all these candidates. Like, I mean, a lot of people are saying Tage Thompson over and over, not sold on Kyrou. It seems like the consensus, and I mean, no surprise, a bigger body, or at least someone that can have a nice defensive edge, is really something that the Montreal Canadiens should and probably will value.
And Horvat's having a heck of a season as well.
Yeah,
but I think there's three things that we could really look for from this trade, like to kind of narrow it down. A lot of success is figuring out what you don't want and kind of working your way back. He's going to be a vet that's from the Western Conference. He's going to have good production, probably as a center, and have to be a good character guy. I think that with whoever that we bring over, he's going to fit those three things. As much as, you know, I would have liked maybe a Mason McTavish to kind of grow, there's maybe an argument to be said, like, over time that we might benefit just so much more of having a vet in that top six. Just too many young guys in those skill position, I think, is just kind of tipping the scales too much in one direction, which really isn't where it's at here. So I think that's really the criteria here. But I think you can kind of expand that from a center to also a winger. That's because I think if it's that right fit, they feel they can get a little bit more production than a center. It's like they're probably going to do that knowing, just because of the things like that Kapanen's doing right now, Newhook, knowing that Xhekaj is there, and it's not saying that like, okay, they're going to force Xhekaj into like the 2C next year. That would kind of be hasty. But I think Kapanen is showing he can keep that warm along with Newhook. Waiting till they can kind of come in there, I think is okay. Like, obviously the center is the ideal, Josh, but if we're getting just like a bona fide, again, that fits that criteria, that's a vet, that can get points, that's a character guy, I'm going to be okay with it, even if it is a winger.
Yeah, me too. And I think there's something that Kent Hughes looking at, right? And we have heard reports that like it was center. Jeff Gorton, Kent Hughes saying it for so long, but they have even said like they're open to looking at other things, and reports have come out that like we're not just looking at center. So I think you're right. I think a winger, and it's easier to achieve that too, right? And there's just more of them. Like there's more of them available, right? And we do have centers who are injured. Like Newhook has had a decent year on the dot. Dach has improved a bit. Those guys still can play center. And again, I don't think they're 2Cs or whatever, but like if we're worried about our center depth, I think it's okay. Like, I mean, even looking at the team right now, like, yeah, obviously Kapanen is not someone ideally you want, but if Kapanen and Evans are your bottom six centers, you're pretty happy because they're both great 200-foot guys. They can both play penalty kill. Kapanen has even showed some potential to play like PP2, probably not in this final version of this team, let's be honest, but like he's able to do it, to get some special teams time. You bring in, whether it's Dach at the 2C or someone else, or you move some pieces around, I think that absolutely could be okay. And I want to go back to the chat here. A lot of people talking about how Tage is a long-term dream. I completely agree with Zalawsome, I guess how I pronounce that Tage is very much a dream, and arguably as big of a dream as Crosby. And, you know, for a while, neither of them looked like pipe dreams, but I do think it's a bit far-fetched, especially considering both of those team situations where Buffalo has a lot that they could add, right? They have so many good pieces that they could just try and make something click. I don't really see them just really giving away everything, but yeah, I mean, very interesting from the Western Conference, Jesse. We see a lot of people pros and cons for Stamkos here in the chat, and I actually find that maybe fascinating because for me, I've pretty much written him off, and I know you've been maybe, you don't mind I don't mind his game. I think the idea, again, of being a good character guy, you know, whether or not there's captain questions about leadership, whatever, Stamkos could thrive in Montreal, but again, I'm just worried about the contract. Like, that's the thing. Like, you almost have to be in the right spot at the right time for a team that's selling the right person and have the right package to give up for them. Which is why, though, I think if you look across the whole landscape of the NHL, what team is in a better place to do that right now than Montreal, who is young? They're selling an incredible culture where everyone has bought into winning, even at decreased pay amounts in their salary. Kent Hughes has done an incredible job of being that relation between the player and the management and the salaries. You got a players coach in Martin St. Louis, youngest team in the league, fresh off a playoff appearance, an atmosphere where the fans love you. Like, you know, plus draft capital and an incredible prospect pool. It's like, I don't know. I just see that match there. And I know we'll talk about it till the cows come home, which is an expression I probably haven't used in ages. But, like, I don't think there's a better team than Montreal ready to bring in a big name, or at least make a good case for a big name. And again, if we get a Dobson type thing, that's another example. A player that's available for trade, willing to you know, bend their will a little bit, say, look, if they have any control over the situation, especially guys with no movement clauses, because there's a lot of them, Montreal is probably getting higher and higher on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, we have the capital, but it's also kind of like the need and the motivation where it maybe makes sense for us to kind of cash in on some trades. Maybe even we're more motivated than a Buffalo Sabres would say at this point in time. Again, you have to feel like with all the care that Kent Hughes has put in this team, for sure he wants to bring in a player that can produce. And if that was the only thing that mattered to Kent Hughes, we would have done that already. But again, just the character is going to be so important of who we're bringing, especially because that's a vet role, and I would suspect them to have a leadership role. I just think that it's just that much more important of what they're bringing in terms of the energy to the locker room. It's just going to be so huge at the end of the day. This is a hockey team. It is a business at the end of the day. But again, this is one of the final touches where you've come so close to building this beautiful home and you're kind of putting the final touches. Kent Hughes, that's why he's waiting a little bit longer, is he's just being very careful about how we're finishing things off right now. But again, you have to feel like, again, that's what's exciting from here is you have to feel like the Montreal Canadiens, they should be adding, I feel like before this break here, I think it would make sense. I think they're maybe waiting a little bit too close to the playoffs of waiting after that freeze, especially with the Olympics coming up. So it's an interesting period, right? We know that roster freeze is coming up very shortly. The Habs obviously have what a lot of the teams around the league are looking for, but we know that center depth is in demand around the league, which is why I think they might pivot in another direction. As long as we're improving that top six, I think right now, like before we're getting into the playoffs, I don't want to say that Kent Hughes owes it to this team in a certain way, but just last year of how he kind of added to this team before the trade deadline, or excuse me, kept the team intact so that they could go on a run for the playoffs. I think this year Kent Hughes will be motivated to really help this team in their playoff aspirations once again.
Yeah, and I think it was the right decision last year as well to get our guys that experience. Like, we picked it up and we went and got it. Shout out Nick Suzuki after the Four Nations, and that is going to prove invaluable. We're going to come around this year, and it's going to make so much of a difference. And wanted to head back to the chat just to read a few more things. I got Jared, one of our members. I think you sent me a message earlier, Jared, saying we're going up against you this week in fantasy. It's that tough. It's a bloodbath in fantasy. Jared saying Stammer's Cup experience, and he seems like a good replacement for Line A if we either trade him or buy him out. Ooh, I don't know about a buyout. I feel like that's anti-Kent Hughes, but there's also probably not much of a trade market, especially when he's coming back. Like, I don't know if he'll like really be back in time to, I think he'll be healthy before the deadline, but barely. So one of those weird ones, right? Like this Line A situation, I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the coming month or so, Jesse, because I don't know, like I almost just in my head, he's almost not there, which is crazy. And like I just almost not forget about him, but like I don't include him in the plans, and it's tough because he can bring value. But the idea of Stammer being like that power play threat could be. He's getting some goals this year. But listen, I think that's going to do it. Guys, we're 2 likes away from 100 likes. Come on. I want to see who the 100th like is. Let us know if you're the 100th like. If you see 99 and you click the like, tell me in the chat if you're the 100th like. I think that's going to do it for this one, Jesse. So much to look forward to. A big week for the Habs this week. And you know we're going to be there after all these games. You know this is the spot to be. Breaking news, middle of the day. Guess who's going to be there for you? What a great stream. I mean, look, Jesse, I'm just excited to see what the Habs can do. Maybe a trade coming sooner than later. We're getting into the Alex Carrier time frame for the trade last year, so I don't know. I'm sure Kent's manning the phones, and we'll just have to be patient, I assume, as well.
Yeah, big week of hockey as the holidays are approaching here. Obviously, things are kind of ramping up as people are getting a good feel for their teams here. Lots to be excited for the Montreal Canadiens. We know that we showed our potential what we were capable of early on in the season. It's all about getting back there. We got full faith in this team. Again, it's all about coming together, kind of playing as the team. And again, taking a page out of Juraj Slafkovsky's book and really putting the team ahead of themselves. That's going to be their key for success as the season goes on. So, can't wait for the next one and breaking it down with you all very shortly.
Absolutely. And shout out to Bernard Jones coming in the chat, who was the 100th like. We got up to 120. So shout out to all of you who clicked that button. But it is Bernard who got the 100th. Thank you for tuning in as always. And hey, if you enjoyed, subscribe up there as well, because well over half of you still in this stream haven't hit that button. And we're here literally every single day, after every single game, right after every single game, sometimes multiple times a day. So if that sounds good to you, you just can't get enough of our Habs, this is the spot to be. Hit that button down below. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you all in the next one.